Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and I am bringing you a pick a card reading today on your next steps. So before I drop the 3 cards, I sure hope you will check out the description below, including my website and any other events and offerings that might be going on. I do have my ebooks there and then some. Perhaps we can stay connected on social media or my other YouTube channels. So now I will place a picture down of your 3 card piles to choose from today. As always, you are choosing from left to right. All right, so card pile 1, your next steps. So I feel like you're looking forward to a time in your life where maybe you can relax a little bit, breathe a little bit, lean back a little bit more, sort of let your hair down, let go a little bit more. I feel like your next chapter has to do with more balance. So you're going to have to decide which way that balance goes. So either for the majority of you, I feel like it's feeling like something of really wanting more space, more time for creativity, more time for play, for fun, for enjoyment, but that feeling of aliveness and creativity and passion, and you really want more space for that. Again, this could even be like play or recreation or time with social time spent with friends and family, that kind of thing. Maybe even vacations, getting out, traveling, whatnot. Looking forward to a time or cycle of life where more of that is in store. So for the majority of you, you've been in a cycle where it hasn't been that, and you want that to happen, or it's on its way, or it's available to you now. So what that means is your next steps would be to create that space, to let that space happen. So if for any reason you've been presented with a new opportunity where that is an option, or you've been considering taking a step that would bring you more of that, or you've been considering even asking your boss to change positions, if you happen to be sort of like in a 9-to-5, or decreasing your hours in some way, or simply enjoying yourself more, even with the situation that you're in, it's going to look like a new cycle that includes more of what it is you actually truly want, what you actually truly seek. Now, for some of you, this could be the opposite, where you've sort of been laying low, leaning back, not doing a whole lot, and you're being asked again to balance the scales. So whichever direction that it goes, meaning instead of just doing all the fun stuff and playing and having a good time and living it up or living for the moment, you're bringing in more discipline, structure, organization in order to achieve or accomplish what it is that you seek to achieve, create, accomplish, right? So I do feel like, a good majority of you will be seeking more of the leaning back and enjoying life a little bit more, but I do feel like this could be flip-flopped. So you'll have to let me know in the comments below where you find yourself so I can see, this energy, who it's picking up on or what it's picking up on and what the majority is. But one way or another, it's coming into balance. So whether you've been working a lot or working frequently or quote unquote too much, and you're stepping into a time of more leisure, more recreation, more space, creativity, passion flow, and or you've already been in that space and are bringing more order, structure, discipline, supports in place, you can kind of get your life going and moving it in the trajectory or the path that you want, so you can actually create or achieve something. That's what's coming through at this time. And your next steps are to follow this flow, to honor this opportunity, and or to take the step that brings this into balance. I feel like many of you, not going to be all of you, but many of you already know what I'm talking about. You already either have an option on the table, or you've had a thought or a consideration or an opportunity that's come knocking, and perhaps you've been wondering, curious, back and forth, what do I do? It's going to be that option that brings greater balance into your life, okay? It's going to bring you closer to what you actually want. I think that's the ultimate question for you, card pile 1. Whichever side of the spectrum or coin you find yourself on, this is about coming into greater balance to honor what it is you actually want. When you get down to the nitty-gritty, what is it that you actually want? Be 100% honest with yourself. Do you want more time for play, enjoyment, traveling, vacation, whatever? Or it might be other things, right? And then you have to, like, some kind of success or bring a project to fruition, which is going to require, right, like we said, putting some discipline, some organization, some consistency, and et cetera into place. But ultimately, it's asking yourself, okay, what do I truly, truly want? Am I honoring that right now in my life? And if I'm not, what needs to be adjusted or what needs to be tweaked so that I can get there, so that I can support what it is I truly want? Taking a look at your life where it's out of balance, or something kind of feels draining or heavy or burdensome, or doesn't allow for that kind of space or creative play or whatever it is that you're seeking, those would be the things that need to be dropped or let go or changed or adjusted in some way. Yeah, so I feel like this is part of what you're seeking. And it's like you've asked for this, now it's coming through, and now it's a matter of saying yes to it. So for any of you who follow law of attraction, which I don't necessarily believe to or subscribe to in the way that it's traditionally taught, but I do feel like there are elements of truth to it that are helpful in terms of manifestation when it comes to how it tends to work, or how I've seen it work in my experience and with clients and just what I've observed in my life, or maybe lifetimes, let's be honest. It's like we say we want something, the universe presents opportunities, and then we say yes or no to them. It's less likely that a prince, our knight in shining armor just shows up at the door and we haven't even said or done anything. Normally it's we set an intention, or we move towards something, or we say we want something, and there's enough energy there for that to be honored. It's reflected back to us in the form of an opportunity, and we say yes or no. And unfortunately, more often than not, most humans will ask for something, and then when it comes their way, they decline it because they don't know. They're not able to see that, oh, this is the opportunity that I'm being presented. Oh, this is the gift that I'm being presented with. Oh, this is my choice. Oh, this is that next step, right? And I think some of the times it's because our opportunities sort of look like blessings in disguise. So we don't really know because it doesn't look very pretty. It's not wrapped up in a bow. So as an example, you might say, gosh, I really want a lot of success, and I want to be me, and I want to make a living just being me and living my art and living in my flow, whatever. So then you might get fired from your job 2 months later and be like, oh, what has happened? But in fact, you had asked for that, and it was coming in the form of an opportunity, but didn't quite look like an opportunity. It kind of looked like not a blessing, but it was a blessing in disguise. So it's clearing the space that you can do what you said you wanted. Another example, I really want to have a truly authentic connection and deep intimacy with someone who truly loves and appreciates me and values me for who I am. Let's just say that person breaks up with you, or you experience some kind of turmoil that leads to a breakup, and you're like, oh, devastating. And I'm not making fun of these things. These are, very difficult parts of the human experience. I've been there, clearly. But, how we are human tends to react to these things. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. And yet we'd ask for it. If that person's not going to be able to offer you that, the universe is going to clean the slate, so that way you can get what you said you wanted. So recognizing that the opportunities that are coming through and right now are to honor what it is that you say you want, that you said you wanted. So you want to make sure you create space and allow for this flow to bring that change for you. What is it that you want? Start living your life, living that day-to-day experience that matches what that vision is. So if you want to spend more of your time leisurely or in a flow or going to lunch or whatever it is that includes some of those things, starting to create a life, a lifestyle, and a day-to-day routine that offers some of that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I feel like there's a message here that's like you can't quite see it yet, and it's like maybe a light at the end of the tunnel, or like a glimmer of hope. That kind of feeling like I can kind of see it. It's not 100% clear. It's not obvious to me yet, but I can see that it's on its way. And that's what it's saying. It's like your hard work is paying off. Whatever it is you've worked toward is on its way. You might not be able to see it fully and cleanly yet. Like it's not obvious, again, in your face that this is the thing, this is it. You're stepping into this new cycle. Here it is, wrapped up in a pretty bow. It may not be that obvious or apparent to you, but in fact, that's what's happening right now. So whatever is coming through in your life experience right now is creating an opportunity or space for you to really step into this vision that you say that you want, this life, this lifestyle, this experience that you've already said that you wanted, that you've declared to God, to the universe, that your soul and higher self has heard, whether or not you spoke it out loud or not, and it's trying to bring this through. So it's just a matter of honoring that intuitive nudge. And to me, I feel like in this pile specifically, although it could be generally otherwise, because we do hear it, but I try not to spout the kind of same old teachings we hear online, unless it's been true for me or it's landed for me in some way. But it's almost saying like intuition is desire for this pile, at least, if not all piles. But for this one, it's like really listening to those little desires that seem kind of subtle, that you might even quiet sometime or not give enough attention to, or that, aren't always in your face because life and we're like working and going through the motions and all the things. But it's like those little nudges, those little desires, those are your intuition speaking, where it's saying, oh, this isn't really what I wanted, or oh, this is what I really want to do, or oh, look at that, look what the life they get to lead. That is telling you where to go, what to do, how to live your life, what choices to make. So I feel like just like the moon comes in phases, waxing moon, waning moon, like we have the cycles of the moon where, for example, new moon, you can't see the moon, but it's there. It's literally there, but you can't see it. Isn't that crazy to consider? But that's kind of the energy that's coming through here is, even though you can't see it, and it might, or it might be an opportunity that doesn't look like an opportunity, so you really can't tell, as you can't see it clearly. This is the opportunity that's going to reveal this next chapter for you. So your next steps, card pile 1, are to allow whatever flow or change is taking place at this time, whatever opportunity is coming through, to embrace it and or to make the choice that's relevant to this reading here. And of course, let this be an informed choice, meaning this is one little piece of information and all of the information that you utilize for yourself to make any choices or decisions or to take any steps forward. This isn't going to be your final answer. Obviously consult with yourself and whatever else is most important to you. With that said, your next steps are about making way or giving way or opening up to this next chapter that creates more balance, that moves you to where you honestly, when you're honest with yourself, truly want to be, where you truly want to go, and recognizing this is toward where you want to go. Even if you can't see it clearly now, even if you can't really tell, even if it's not obvious, this is bringing you to where you want to go. Trust it, embrace it, say yes to it. All right, card pile 1, again, do share your stories in your comments below. I want to hear from you. Of course, like, subscribe, share this video if you feel like anyone that you know might appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 2, we're talking about your next steps. So I feel like you have been at a time where you've sort of gotten used to some patterns or old behaviors or habits or whatever. Like, it's very natural for humans to get into a rut, we'll say, because we are habitual creatures. Once we realize something works, it sort of clicks, and our biochemistry, the way we are wired, starts to create whether it be a neural network and or an actual habitual behavioral groove that we tend to just do every day, right? It kind of reminds me of a car that it knows a particular path to go to get where it needs to go. And so it follows that path every time. There are a million different ways to get somewhere, but oftentimes we choose the most efficient path. Right now, the most fuel efficient path, the most whatever it is, right? But we're used to that. And so, okay, this one works. We're going to stick to it, even though there's a million other paths. My point here is that I feel like you've been in a rut of some kind or in your comfort zone in one way or another, and you're being asked to step out of that. So this is going to look different for everybody. And I know what the energy is when I feel it, but I don't know what form it's taking for each and every one of you. And I hope that we get some examples here, but some of them might be staying at home a lot or isolating. Some of it might be sort of unhealthy patterns, like eating patterns, or just, and not even that you're like out there going crazy and eating birthday cakes for dinner. I mean, not that you can't do that, right? Everything in moderation, but it's like, we all kind of know when we get into like a place that feels kind of like a slum, where it's like we're in our little slump. I guess that's a better way to say it, where it's like, well, we had this for breakfast, a donut and a coffee, and so why not just have the extra chili bowl or whatever, and then it kind of leans into dinner, and we're just going extra mile there too. And you see what I'm saying? Where it's like, sort of thought or consciousness or intention sort of goes out the window. We rely on these old habits, and it kind of becomes the same old, same old. That's the kind of energy. It's same old, same old. It's status quo, whatever that is for you. But for most of you, it's going to feel like something that kind of feels heavy. It feels draining. It doesn't feel ideal. It kind of feels gray. It feels a little fuzzy. It feels not alive. It kind of feels asleep. So it's kind of that energy that I'm feeling, where it feels like a slump of some kind. So in one form or another, you've been in a slump. You have some habits that are in place that have just kind of landed there naturally. Some of you, that could be unhealthy coping patterns as well. But one way or another, you found yourself in a rut, in a slump, in the status quo. And you might even been asking yourself, like, how did I get here? How do I get out? Like, this isn't me. I don't really love this. But perhaps you're just not feeling motivated. Perhaps you don't have a whole lot of passion in any direction or inspiration. So perhaps this is why you've sort of fallen into this. But I feel like a lot of you, I don't feel like, there could have been a distant sort of trigger or trauma. That's very well possible. But in terms of like present energy, it feels like distant from any of that. This feels more of like just being in a rut where, kind of life at different times loses its thrill. You kind of get in the motions, like going through the motions and kind of rote doing what you need to do. And right, you wake up, you go to breakfast, you go to work, that kind of thing. So even if it's not even anything unhealthy, right? Even if it's not like slump-like, or even if it's not, oh, I ate all of this or drank all of this or whatever, it could just be that you're kind of in a rut because you're just going through the same motions every day, and you're like, is this all there is to life? But there's a key here. Your next steps are to get out of your comfort zone. Now, I say that with discernment and keeping in mind your context, because normally we just go, all right, here I am. I'm out of my comfort zone. The part of us that's terrified of that is going to be like, ah! And then it's going to like brakes, and do all sorts of crazy stuff subconsciously to try to prevent that big old leap. So I'm not necessarily just saying go out there and be the fool in the tarot. Some of you might be ready for that. Awesome. Some of you might explore the most natural next step, or just do like little things like, okay, you're just getting out of the house, or okay, you're just taking a different road to the grocery store or the coffee shop today, or you're giving a friend a call instead of just sitting home alone on a Sunday night watching Netflix, right? It can be such little things, or you order something different for dinner, or whatever, like just starting to do new things, even new random things. They don't have to be this like blinding light item, like, oh, the heavens have parted, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, yay. I feel like we all search for so much meaning and want to know what the next thing is, and what's the passionate thing? What am I inspired toward? I can be one of those kind of big visionary type people. And yet a lot of times, if not most of the time, we just need fresh energy, something new. So again, just doing something new, doing something different, paving a new neural network, or literally taking a new path to work, to school, to wherever. It could also be literally, you get up and you take a walk in the morning, you take a walk before bed, or you have a different nighttime routine, right? Instead of just scrolling on Facebook, you decide to read a book. It's those little things that are going to add up that develop new energy, bring fresh energy, bring new vitality into your life. Because ultimately, what are you seeking, card pile 2? You're seeking vitality. I feel like you're seeking that fresh energy, new energy, something that feels good or makes you feel alive, something that doesn't feel so dead, what is that? Dull, lifeless, a void, and so things that are life-giving too, things that might move you in some way. Even healthier foods are going to be more supportive. Getting active are going to be supportive. Being out in the sun is going to be more supportive. Warmer weather is more supportive. Anything that's more masculine in nature, if you're familiar with Ayurveda or yoga or yogic philosophy, looking into the more masculine paths to support kind of coming up and out of this lull. So all of those things are going to help you, card pile 2. Let's see what else we have here for you. Yeah, it's saying this is going to bring you into a place of more fullness, wholeness, your potential, what it is that you seek. There is another message here, so I'm going to sit here for just a moment and see what that is for you. So card pile 2, this is what it is. I feel like you have been searching for this. You've been searching for the key. We touched on a little of this earlier. It was like, I'm just looking for that thing. Like, what is it? And what's going to pull me out of this? Or what's going to be my next big thing? Or, what is my way out of this? Like, some of you might be sort of hanging this on like a goal. Like some of you might be like this project or this career or this success. And so you might not even realize it, but subconsciously you're actually seeking out those goals to pull you out of this rut. And ultimately, so you've been seeking for this key to get you out of this rut, and you've sort of maybe even been distracted or like kind of subconsciously distracting yourself on a goal so you can avoid the rut that you're in. Does that make sense? So it's sort of like, I'm going to give an example here. Okay, let's just say someone is really unhappy and they're unfulfilled. They don't feel realized within themselves. Maybe they don't even have much future direction or motivation. They're kind of unclear, uncertain. And let's just say instead of exploring themselves, doing self-discovery, trying out new hobbies or passions or interests, or just, again, trying new things, whatever, they're sort of in a relationship they kind of feel okay in. They feel safe there, comfortable. It's not like it doesn't light up all of their buttons, and it's not like the greatest thing in the world, but hey, it's a relationship, right? And it's comfortable and it's safe and it's familiar, and you get to go home to everybody. You get to go home to everybody every night. You get to go home to somebody every night. And so let's just say this person's like, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. Let's get married. And then this person's like, okay, well, we've got the dress and the decorations, and where are we going to do it and how are we going to do it? And everyone's so excited and like kind of, celebrating this. And this person's like, oh, okay. Are you guys seeing what I'm doing there? And this is the example where it's like someone who generally isn't that fulfilled or that happy, maybe they're in a rut or stagnant or whatever, but they find something, bing, 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 that glitters, so that they can give all their attention to that and forget about how they actually feel about themselves. Like the real work was over here, but that's harder to deal with, and a lot of people don't know what to do. Most of us don't know what to do with that. So hey, let's avoid that and focus on something that's shiny, okay? That we all do that, whether it's work-related, career, success, relationship, whatever, we all tend to do that. So card pile 2, I do feel like there's this sort of, could be loneliness and dread too, but this feeling of like, this isn't how I wanted it to turn out. This isn't how I expected things to go or how I expected to feel. I expected to feel better. I expected to be more of myself by now, whatever that is. I wanted to realize more of my potential, but I don't even know which direction to go or what to do. A lot of that kind of energy. That's like the deeper sort of curiosity or yearning or even desire, is to step more into your potential. But you might have been sort of hanging your coat on, oh, well, if I only accomplish this goal, or if I can only do this, or if I can only do that, or I'll just get married, or go get this job, or move across the world to Bali and everything will be all right, right? Where we can distract ourselves with something shiny, where we think it's fulfilling, and it might be temporarily, but ultimately we end up in the same rut we were in. Give it 6 months or a few years, we're right back to where we started. So recognizing that your deeper yearning is about realizing more of your potential and more of who you are, and beginning to live more true to that, even if you've been pointing your attention at other goals or aspirations. And last but not least, here, card pile 2. So we're talking about your next steps, coming out of your comfort zone, new, fresh energy, things that make you come alive or bring you more vitality, recognizing that this is really what's going to pull you out of your rut or your lull, whatever, or your slump. That's really going to be about this more so than some big shiny object that you think it's going to be, or that you feel like you have to accomplish in order to bring this energy into your life. I feel like it's allowing these desires to come to fruition. So, but it has to do with vitality. It's not, again, it's not just those desires, those sort of blank conditioned desires or generalized conditioned desires like success or a car, a house with 2 cars and a pool like the 1970s. Like, it's not going to be that stuff. This has to do with what makes you come alive, or what makes you tick, even what makes you feel good. So this might have to do with, again, vitality, even fresh, healthy foods, simple movement or more movement, or getting out and hanging out with people and spending time with people. It's going to be things that enliven you, that awaken you, that invigorate you, and bring in this fresh energy. So however, which way you can do that, card pile 2, those are going to be your next steps to get you out of this rut. Then if there is a big aspiration, dream, or goal that you're looking forward to or aspiring toward, then you're going to be much more positioned to be able to move toward that. And it'll be like nothing to you, right? It will seriously be like nothing. When you're in the right energy, i.e. the energy we're talking about getting into, the energy and the flow and the momentum are going to carry you into that so much easier than trying to do it from this place of rut and slump and a lull, just not feeling alive and vibrant and like yourself. It's going to be really hard. It's going to feel like from here to the moon to try to accomplish what it is you desire, whatever that external goal is at this time. But if you start with just little things, fresh energy, aliveness, simple things, easier things that, again, just make you come alive or feel better, it's going to move you into the energy where you want to be, which is going to get you to where you want to go. So let me know, card pile 2. Tell me your experience. Tell me your story so I can remember it and place it in this reading, because I forget by the time that they're published. Let me know. Let me know what your external goal is, and maybe how you were distracting yourself, and what it is you were actually avoiding, and what your next steps might be in terms of bringing in more of that aliveness into your experience. So card pile 2, I want to thank you. Of course, do like, subscribe, share with anyone that you feel like might appreciate this reading, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3, your next steps. So I feel like you have come to the conclusion or completion of a great saga, or like a great healing period or season of your life, where something has reached resolution, something has reached completion. So what you were once grappling with, i.e. even struggling with, or just kind of navigating and moving through, that might have felt like pushing a rock up a really steep hill, I feel like a lot of this has moved on, or you have moved on. A lot of this is cleared. It's like, let's just say there's a big earthquake and there's all this rubble everywhere and debris and all of this stuff that still has to be cleaned up, and it takes a while. But let's just say it's been a few years, maybe it's been a few months, whatever your experience was, some of you a decade or more. But those final few pieces of rubble, they're being picked up, the debris has been cleaned out, and you are starting off on a clean slate, a fresh slate, where you are moving into the new. So you're stepping into a quote unquote new version of you. This feels more mature, more well-rounded, more whole, even we could say more relaxed. So that's an interesting word, because I can't say that one comes up in every reading when we're talking about personal transformation, but I do feel like more of a relaxed energy, right? Not as much fighting with life or resisting with life or struggling with the flow or letting go and all those things. This is why we see a lot of individuals who are, say, retired, or those who what we consider our elders, or those who are of the latter ages of life. They tend to be more relaxed and like, no big deal if someone talks behind their back or whatever, just much more relaxed, much more at ease, much more flow. This is a level of maturity. And I feel like you're stepping into that, where you're trusting yourself, you're honoring yourself, you're listening to yourself, you're much more attuned. I just feel like you're stepping into, or you've stepped into this, it doesn't feel like next chapter, but this new version of yourself. And even that doesn't quite do it justice. but words are limited. But ultimately, you've come full circle. So this circle might have started even, again, 5 years ago. If you do feel like this is on the longer end, we'll say, in terms of relative duration as compared to, say, 5 months, that's pretty short. I do feel like many of you have been traversing this journey for some time, but now you've come full circle to where now you're able to move on. And I think part of the reason this is coming through for you, card pile 3s, number one, perhaps you're not even aware of that this has more or less cleared. There's still a little bit energy left, at least for some or many of you, because otherwise, that's the dominant energy here. But otherwise, you're packing up and you're moving on. Like there's not a whole lot left here to do, right? So if you have been sort of sifting through the layers and you have been sort of unpacking something, right, as we call it, you've been working through something within yourself, and this will be unique to each and every one of you, although there is a theme that we're going to touch on in just a moment. You've really kind of done the bulk of this work, and most of the work has been done. You're getting ready to leave for the day, kind of thing. It gives me this energy of someone who's kind of spent the day on the farm. Now, in this case, it's been years, but or for a long duration. Even when I say years, it doesn't feel right. I think it's because it was less about the time frame and more about the substance, the function. So it was more about what you were doing, and whatever that activity was just happened to take that amount of time. But it was never about, they have to be here for 3 years or 10 years, 13 years. It's going to be different for everybody, but it was ultimately about what you were doing there. And so let's just say you're on the farm and there's a series of tasks you have to complete. You're nearing the end of your day. The sun is setting. Everything's kind of been put away and cleaned up. Animals are fed, this, that, and the other. You kind of sit there, you have a straw hat, you lean back for a second and you're getting ready to leave for the day. So it kind of feels like that, like my work is done here. Like it doesn't have that energy, but kind of that idea where it's like, okay, it's nearing the end of the day here. This has come to a close or come to a completion, and I'm now carrying on. Things are moving on, and I'm ready to go, So, and I think, again, why is this coming through? I think there was something about pinning this, or at least bringing some highlight or notice or illumination to the work has been done. You've done it. Woohoo! Been there, done that. This has come full circle. You are moving on. You are carrying on. There's just a little bit left, and you're kind of just moving on with your life. So whatever that healing period was, it's recognizing this has come to a close, or is coming to a close, and there is some kind of resolution. And I feel like you are at peace ultimately. You found peace, maybe even greater peace, we could say, and peace with yourself, even more so, and peace with life, and just a trust, a flow again. So yeah, I feel like for a long time, I'm trying to remember the original message too. When I pull cards, I immediately get all this information, and then I have to go through and speak it linear to you, right? Like A to Z. And so then by the time I get to those cards again, those original messages are long gone. These aren't in conscious memory. They're like more quote unquote channeling, where it comes through and then it's gone. So sometimes I can forget. But I feel like for a long time, you carried the heavy burden of just not loving yourself. And there's some emotion that comes up for me when I feel that. So I know this must have been emotional for some of you. Could have been challenging for many of you. Could have to do with childhood wounds or burdens. And so I feel like that's a lot of what you were working through, is the kind of the things that were weighing heavy on you, the things that were draining you, the things that weren't true for you, the things that you were still holding on to, the truths you were still holding on to, the beliefs you were still holding on to, the beliefs about yourself you were still holding on to, the projections, even the way that other people believed about you, and you were still holding on to those beliefs about you. So like a lot of that was through this process was being let go of, and it just took a matter of quote unquote time, right? Because it wasn't about the time. It was about sifting through each of this and being like, is that what I believe? And is that what I agree with? Not really. Oh, and this one too. Okay, I could see how that makes sense, but is that really what I want to subscribe to? And okay, and I see this too. Is that something I still agree with? And just sort of sifting, unpacking, revealing, going through the motions of going through this healing journey, those breadcrumbs, those discoveries. And this all had to do with really the root of this baggage, of this burden, was really not loving yourself, not believing in yourself, not being true to yourself. And it's interesting because it feels less about like, oh, you just dropped that and now you just feel like a shining star, because I think a lot of like the rhetoric online is like, forget that you feel unlovable and drop that like a bad habit and just claim your worth, girl. And it's like, well, that's really nice and it feels like really glam and fun, but that's not really true for how deep the work is. It takes time. I keep saying that, even though that's not really the case. It doesn't necessarily take time, but it does take, things to move and change and to be seen and whatnot. But it's like, it's not just about just going out there and be like, I'm wonderful. It's about, I almost feel this energy of like, relaxing again. So where you were once maybe holding things against yourself and maybe you didn't even know it or had these beliefs about yourself, those things have relaxed. Maybe you have these high expectations for yourself and high expectations and standards for other people, and those have relaxed. Maybe you had these ideas about yourself that were bad and you believe that you are bad or you're a bad girl or bad boy and you did it wrong, and those have relaxed. All these ideas about success and how you had to achieve success and how it had to look and how it had to be and how far you wanted to go, those have relaxed. So it doesn't matter what it was, but any kind of rigidity, belief, whatever, truth that you were subscribing to that kind of held you up here or was very burdensome that ultimately had to do with not believing in your own lovability, not believing you were worthy, not thinking you were good enough, right? Because we own and internalize a lot of this stuff from either our caregivers' homes, childhood environments, what other kids said, whatever. We develop these beliefs about ourselves that may not even be true, that could have been projections from the other people, and or we inherited them genetically. They're part of our lineage, even though they were never true for us in our own experience. Then after a while, we look back, we're like, what in the hell are we carrying this backpack for? Let's take all these rocks out. So that's the energy, right? Most of the time, this is the perfect metaphor. So thank you, Spirit. Right, we have this backpack full of rocks. We're feeling so tired and burdensome, and after a while, we feel so weary. We don't even know what to do with it anymore. It's just too much, too big. We can't carry it anymore, and so we drop. Okay, but instead of just leaving that here, we just kind of carry on. That's kind of the energy of like the marketing that's out there in the rhetoric. It's more of like this. If we just got up and walked away, that backpack would just jump right back on our backs and we'd be walking again. That's just how it works. Instead, we have to sit down and take out item by item, rock by rock, and look at it, explore it, and get to know it. And we might, look at it and set it down, look at it and set it down, look at it and set it down. So it's more of like, again, that unpacking than it is like, I just let go and now I'm free energy, where you had an opportunity to explore and investigate a lot of the inner workings or operating system of your old identity, previous self, conditioned self, born self, like the family you were born into, family name, whatever those patterns and programs are. And you were able to explore that. And again, I don't know that you've necessarily been like, okay, I'm worthy and I'm lovable and I just feel it every minute and moment of my life. It's more of like, again, all of it's relaxed, that it doesn't even feel like it's that relevant. Like it doesn't have much influence or much say, like that. The heavy backpack on your back is no longer feeling heavy. So even if it's there, it's not heavy because you're aware of it, and you're aware that it's not true, right? You're no longer owning it. You're no longer claiming it. You're no longer living it. So it doesn't carry any weight. It might be, so it's like almost like you can remember the backpack. You might even know it was there or even that it is there now, but it doesn't carry weight. It's almost like a transparent, and I'm really trying to get the words around this idea to convey it to you. It doesn't really make sense. Let me know if it does. But it's almost like, to your experience anyway, my point is, it's not like you might not feel like, I'm alive and I feel wonderful. You might not email like, girl, like, are you sure I've went full circle? Because I don't feel that much different or whatever. First of all, I think you would. If you looked back, you found some peace. You do feel more relaxed and at home with yourself. And you just relax more in general. Whereas, again, you're not taking your beliefs too seriously, your limitations too seriously, but you're not even believing in your aspirations too seriously. Like a lot of that conditioning, that's what it is. The beliefs, the rigidity, the standards, the expectations, a lot of that has relaxed to where it really doesn't hold much power over you. That's what I've been trying to get at with my words for like 5 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Because why? You believe in your inherent worthiness now. And even if you don't feel it 100% or know it 100% of the time, you are much more occupying and residing that space and energy than you ever have before. Okay, you are much more aware of your worthiness, much more aware of your inherent lovability, much more aware of anything that says anything to contradict that. Either likely isn't true or you're able to look at it objectively. So that's part of it too, is being able to look at all this objectively, being able to look at all of it in a neutral way, being able to look at all of it and just explore it and investigate it and get to know it without harsh judgments or fear or condemnation, right? All of that is, that's attachment and resistance and intensity, and it's usually attached to like our identity, what we believe about ourselves, about others, about life, and about how everything works. And oh goodness, whatever. When we can relax, a lot of that stuff sort of just suspends in air and can just go. So let's see what else is here. Yeah, where you were once burdened by all this. I feel like maybe at a time you were traveling a lot, had a lot of plates in the air, I feel like it had to do with maybe a more hypervigilant persona. Not all of you are going to relate to that, but in terms of just this kept you in a space of stress or survival mode. It kept you in a space of go, 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 do, do, do. Even for some of you, achieve, achieve, achieve. It just kept you in a space of not living true to your authentic self. It was more of like keeping that identity going, proving your worth and value. How do I convince myself and others more that I matter, that I should be valued, that I am valued, that I'm worthy of more? Proving, 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 convincing, convincing, convincing. And it was all just a show to prove to yourself, maybe even others, that you were worthy. Well, now that's not as much of a deal. Like that's not even happening for you, and you don't have much to prove. So you might, again, find that things have relaxed. You don't care as much maybe at working so hard and having all plates in the air and juggling all the balls because you're not trying to prove yourself anymore. So again, back to no longer juggling, no longer carrying it all, and instead just relaxing more, being more relaxed. Okay, let's see what else here. Yeah, I feel like you've just come into greater spiritual union or connection with yourself. Perhaps we could say, quote unquote, embodying more of your higher self, true self, authentic self, where you just have more space inside you that's open and available and receptive and flow, as opposed to heavy and weighted and burdened. And just believing in these terrible things about yourself and all this stuff, right? So what are your next steps? Honestly, I feel like your path is much more about the awareness piece of knowing that you are on the other side of this, of whatever that was, recognizing that you have come full circle, seeing how that baggage has been sort of released and or lost its weight, pressure, or undue influence, and really giving yourself that pat on the back or the acknowledgement for how far you've come. So card pile 3, your next step's about really seeing how you have flowered and blossomed and how you've stepped into a more mature version of you that is more relaxed and is more at peace. And perhaps you can enjoy that peace too, a little bit more too. And recognizing that you have found more enoughness within yourself, where it might not have been there before. You've released a lot of that weight or baggage, or at least your attachment to that weight or baggage. And so now you're just more at peace. So card pile 3, please let me know how that resonates. I would love to know your personal experience with that, like your version of that. And like, subscribe, share with anyone you feel like this might resonate for, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 3.